Welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast where we are exploring the best ideas for spiritually based business success. My name is George Cow, and in this episode, I'm going to share with you how to quote unquote add value to your services so that they are truly worthwhile in terms of what the market sees as worthwhile. In other words, how do you increase your business's competitive advantage? Now, I don't like to use the word competition and competitive because it tends to strike fear into the hearts of people. What I instead like to think about is that the universe, life is calling us to continually innovate, to continually change and get better so that we can serve the world more fully and so that we can grow into the greatest potential that we can, which, by the way, is unlimited, right? So this episode will show you 4 specific ways where you can add value in your business so that you can ethically charge higher prices or even feel really, really good about what you're charging. And when you feel really, really good about what you're charging, what happens is other people sense that what you're selling is truly worth it. And then that subconscious energy will, of course, tend to bring you more clients and more referrals. So let's get going with the quote of this episode. And the quote of this episode is by the great Albert Einstein, and he wrote, "Try not to become a man of success. Rather, become a man of value." Of course, this applies to women as well. So that's what we're talking about. I think in a lot of marketing, people think of marketing as packaging. They think of marketing as promoting. They think of marketing as being glossy or and it's unfortunately true for many businesses. Their marketing is, for lack of a better word, just putting a better cover on something that's a so-so product or service. That's looking successful, but not necessarily truly valuable. The way I think about marketing is not just the promotion part. Marketing is not just the branding or how you communicate what you do. Marketing is actually making your service really, really good. By service, I mean your product, your program, your service, the thing that you deliver to people. And also making your client experience really, really good so that, guess what? Your internal state is one of integrity, one of authentic belief in your service or product. And that authentic belief is going to come out in just your conversations with people. You don't need to shout very loudly when you believe in your thing. When you believe in your thing, you know your value. And when I say you know your value, it's not like, oh, people tell me I'm so great. That's part of it. But when you do a great service, actually, before I keep going, let me just go ahead and show you that I have a mind map for you. Now, the mind map is somewhat new. I've been creating it, and so I know I'm going to be adding to it over time, but I might as well show you the mind map so that you can get a sense of what we're going to be talking about. And I will give the link to the mind map, of course, in the show notes, episode notes page. But I just kind of want to show you a bit here. So the mind map is called How to Add Value, and there are 4 ways. Number 1 is improving your service. Number 2 is looking and utilizing your existing relationships, and we'll talk about that. What does that mean? Number 3 is what I call awesome free, which is basically what do you give for free that is awesome. And number 4 is branding. Branding is a whole world on its own, but we'll talk about that a bit today. And number 5 is not really a way to add value, but it's a way that some businesses add perceived value, which I think is questionable. So we'll talk about that as well. let's get started first with better service. And I think what I'll do is I'll let you look at the mind map later in more detail. But so marketing is not, as I said, not just about design or copywriting or joint ventures or promotions, things like that. Marketing is fundamentally about making your service better. The product program, I'm going to use service from now on. Most of the people listening to this podcast, I think, are service providers. So I'm not going to say product or program. I'm just going to say service from now on. So if you make your so here's how you make your service better. How can you make it more useful, truly useful to your clients and your prospective clients? How can you make it truly easy to use the service? Easy to use, easy to implement, okay? And fun. Okay, that's part of easy, right? If it's fun, it's going to be more easy for them to get into it. How proven is the service? Do you have case studies, testimonials, etc.? And then also, what's unique about your service? So we'll kind of talk about these 4 things briefly here. Number 1, how useful is your service? If you can make it more useful, you will be adding value to your business and people will be willing to pay you more. And to make it more useful, the question to ask is, how well matched is my service to my market? How well matched? Now what I mean is this. If you are trying to solve people's when you're trying to solve a problem that people don't really have, people don't want to buy it. People don't want to pay you for it. If you're trying to help people reach a goal that they're not really excited about, they're not going to pay you for it. Do you see what I mean? So it's not well matched to the market, to what they're wanting. Remember this. A market is what people want. Okay? What you produce, what the service you give may be what you think they need, but those are 2 separate things. What you think they need is one thing, is what you really feel passionate about giving them. But what they want is what they will pay for. And sometimes what they need is also what they want. But that's not always the case. And you need to both, of course, come from your passion and serving people where you think they need, what you understand their need to be. But you also need to have interviews with them, or take surveys, or just observe observe them on social media and what they're promoting, what they're sharing, what they're buying, what they're talking about. You usually don't. Sometimes you know what they're buying because they say, "Oh, I just hired this coach," or "I just bought this program and it's great." And you can sometimes get a sense there. But usually you have to talk to them and ask them, "Hey, so what kind of services are you buying related to this topic?" Or "What services are you buying?" And what they're buying is the best indication of what the market is. They may tell you that they want what you are offering them because they need it, but if they're not spending money on that type of thing, well, they're not spending money on it. There's no market for it in that sense. So the question again is, how well matched is your service to your market? And I have a whole mind map, as you might know, about authentic marketing. And so I will also include that in the notes. And in the authentic marketing mind map is a whole section on matching and how you can make your service a better match to the market. Lots of exercises and tools and techniques for you there. The other thing about making your thing useful, your service useful to people, is the more focused an audience the service is for, the easier it is for you to improve it, therefore improve the usefulness of it. Now here's what I mean. If I say that I help every type of business in the world with marketing, whether you are a life coach or a plumber or a taxi driver, or you are a Fortune 100 company, doesn't matter, I help you with marketing. That may be true, but here's the thing. The problems that a Fortune 100 company, a top global company faces in their marketing is different from what a taxi driver faces in his marketing. is different from what a life coach faces in her marketing. You see what I mean? It's different from what a restaurant faces in their marketing. So if I say I help all kinds of people with their marketing, you know, you should be wondering, well, George, how do you have time to study how how successful taxi cabs truly market their service? How do you have time to also study how successful restaurants market their services? How do you have time to also study how a Fortune 100, consumer products company markets their services? Do you really, as a one person or even a team, there are entire marketing agencies focused on just one segment of Fortune 100 companies. Do you see what I mean? So don't say that you serve everyone with your thing. Do you see how it starts to sound ludicrous? Because if you serve all kinds of people with your thing, that means you don't really have time to study the successful ways of serving one type of person. Do you see what I mean? Instead, I say, I was talking to my one of my friends recently, and I told her what I do. Oh, I help people do online marketing. Specifically, I don't help people do local marketing. I help people do online marketing, and specifically coaches and healers, because they have a similar type of online marketing that they do. And she says, oh, okay, so you don't help like taxi drivers or like ice cream parlors. I say, no, I don't. If someone comes to me who's something like that, I will refer them just to someone else. And so she says, oh, so you're very niched. And so some people who think, oh, niched means you will have less business. No, that means I have more business, because I can actually study a couple things. I can study how to truly make marketing for coaches and healers successful. And secondly, I can study how to truly reach those people. Do you see what I mean? So the narrower your audience is for your service, the more useful it truly is, because the more you can study how to be successful in serving them well. So all right, let's go on to the next way of making your service more useful. How easy is your service to use? So a couple of things. How convenient is it? So how immediately available are you to your clients? I'll give you some extreme examples. In some group coaching programs, I've had friends and partners and peers who have. Oh, by the way, I should mention, those of you who are watching the video, you see this little heart on my shirt here. That is, I'll send a link to in the episode notes to the story of where this came from. I just had a friend from India visit me. This friend is doing a really cool project, by the way. You should check out his project. It's called startupkindness.org. Startupkindness.org, and it's basically, he has dedicated. He's a smart entrepreneur and consultant, and he has thoughtfully limited the commercialization. He and I didn't even talk. We just met recently, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's thinking the same thing that I am. This guy is full of heart and love for people, and he has decided to purposely limit the commercialization of his time to just 40 hours a month. So about only 10 hours a week is what he is willing to charge people for to work. And then, he does business financial consulting, very smart guy. And in the rest of his hours, he helps entrepreneurs for free. He helps people, especially starting businesses that he feels are worthwhile business, helps them for free, with nothing in return, no strings attached. He does this because it helps him grow his heart. It helps him grow his love for people. That's it. And so, I mean, it's amazing. So he just visited, and he stayed over at my place, and he gave me one of these little hearts, which is made by some women in India who, I didn't get the full story. He was going to send the link to me. I think they weren't able to get other jobs or other work, and so they were set up to create these with love. And anyway, so a cool story behind this. I'll include the link. So anyway, as I was saying, I have friends and colleagues who are selling group coaching programs or online courses or conferences and events. And in those group coaching programs, you don't even have access to the person who's selling you the $500 group coaching program or $2,000 or $10,000. You don't even have one-to-one access to that person. Yeah, I know of group coaching programs that are $25,000, and there's some that are $100,000 that barely get access to the coach. $100,000 for a year, but there are many of them that are 10,000 or 25,000 a year, and you actually maybe get 1 hour with the coach. So it's very it's not accessible, right? But how immediately available does the client have to you or your team? Can you email? Can the client email you? And how quickly do you respond? I'm not saying you should respond 24/7 or very quickly. It's okay. It's very reasonable to respond within 1 business day. So you can take the weekend off or whenever you don't work, but your business day is whatever it is. But examples are unlimited email support, again, within the bounds of your work-life balance. And also, some coaches who charge $25,000 and are, in my opinion, have integrity and actually give one-to-one time to their clients. They might even give their cell phone access to them. So another question for you is, how is the onboarding process of your service? Here's what I mean. Onboarding process is the intake process. When clients sign up for your service, is it pleasant? Is it easy for them to get started using your service? What is the series of emails they get to get them going? Are the emails easy to read, pleasant to read, short enough to read? So that do they receive a phone call, or what is the onboarding process? Think about from the client's perspective. They don't know anything about your service, and they just bought your service. What experience do you want to give them to make your service fun and easy to use? Okay. All right. Next one about better services. How proven is your service? And this is case studies. So as you provide your service, so as an example, what I'm starting to do now, I'm getting smarter and smarter about this. In the application itself to my coaching program now, I actually take the baseline of a client. I have them rate 1 to 10 on a number of segments and a number of skills and results, and then at the end of the program I rate them again, so then I can put together case studies. All right, so and so client worked for me. At the beginning they were feeling this, they didn't have this result. By the end they were feeling this and had this result, and had this plan, and had this transformation, etc. So start working on case studies for your business, get testimonials for your business, and also metrics. Metrics are whatever it is you help people with. A metric can be, for example, for me, I might be helping clients grow their email list from 10 people to 1,000 people. It may be that I help them grow their clients from having no clients to having 5 paying clients by the end of a certain number of weeks or whatever. For you, the metric might be different. It might be, if you help people with a particular emotional pain, in the beginning you might be asking them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this particular area of your life? And then at the end of the program you ask them again, or at the end of your service you ask them again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel now about this area of your life? So metrics like that, you track them over time so you can see that, wow, am I improving clients' lives, and how can I make it even better next time, right? And also, what's unique about your service? Okay, so add your own voice, your own personality, your own hobbies to your services. If you play music, add some music to your content, to your services. If you like to draw art, if you like to create art, add some of that art in your emails or in your social media postings, okay? Put some of your hobbies into whatever you can. Think about ways to fit that in, okay? Because that'll make your service more unique and therefore better, more memorable, etc. Okay, so let's go on to the second way of adding value, which is existing relationship. Okay, so by existing relationship, I mean this. You have spent a lifetime, and by the way, as I go through this talk, I hope you take notes, and I know a couple of you are live here, and if you wish to take notes directly under the video, you're absolutely welcome to do that, because as you do that, it makes the video more interesting for people to watch, and you show up as a hero, because before people watch the video, they get a sense of some of the things that are being shared in this video. So thank you for doing that if you want to. So, but take notes, and if you're not in a place where you can take notes, here's what I suggest. Listen for one thing. Remember this. I teach so many things in my episodes that it's meant for you to listen to again and again as a really a master class, some people call it. I could have easily taken these episodes, just simply packaged them, branded them better, and sold them for $1,000 for 50 episodes. People sell it for even more, 2,000. I have partners who sell for $2,000 for fewer episodes like this, but I don't, and it's the whole thing about limiting the commercialization, limiting consumerism, etc. But if you're in a place where you can't take notes, listen for one thing you will implement as a result of your time spent listening to this. If you implement just one thing, you will be better off than all the hours you have spent listening to podcasts, watching videos, and not implementing anything. How often has that happened? For a lot of us, it happens a lot. So if you just implement one thing, listen for that. If you make a change, that's what matters. Okay, not just filling your head with more information. That is sometimes harmful. But if you make a change based on what you hear, you are making progress. So, okay, existing relationships is a second way to add value. And by this, I mean that you have spent a lifetime building a network of friends. Some friends you haven't talked to for years, but they're, if you contact them again, of course, they still remember you and think fondly of you. Of colleagues, people you've worked with in past jobs or past businesses, or people you have, acquaintances that you've met at conferences or events that you've kept in touch with a little bit over the years. Okay, maybe you wouldn't call them friends, but you call them acquaintances. Clients, of course, or past clients. Audience members that have liked your social media postings or liked something you've written or found you on Facebook, or so you have spent a lifetime forming a network, and that network is valuable to your business. Okay, that is unique to you. Your network is different from my network. You have relationships with some people that I cannot reach, right? And so those relationships are valuable to you, to your business. And the way you add value is simply if you have been good at nurturing connections in your life, if you've been good to other people, basically. Some of you are just very kind in commenting on Facebook and helping people out in various groups. Well, that too is a network. And that will, it's good karma. And now the good karma is where you can start to utilize some of that good karma as you build your business. So you can improve, and here's what I mean. When you are ready to sell your services, you can, of course, reach out to your network and let them know. Say, hey, I just want to let you know that, and it's better to reach out to individual people rather than mass emailing 100 of your friends. Or, recently I got an email from someone who just joined my email list, and I was trying to help her out with something. And suddenly, about 2 weeks later, I got an email from her that says, "Dear colleagues, friends, family, people I may have not have spoken to in a while," and I was BCC'd. I'm like, and she was basically selling her next workshop, and I'm thinking, and there was no way to unsubscribe, so she used her email and put BCC probably hundreds of people, and I'm thinking, that is not the way to treat your network. The more you do mass anything, the less of a quality it is to your existing relationship. You erode, I shouldn't say erode, like in some places it's perfectly legitimate, perfectly acceptable to do mass. Like when you post on Facebook, of course, hey friends, I'm looking for this help, or I'm looking for that. Of course everyone expects that on Facebook. But if you mass email a bunch of people, you start to erode those relationships. The difference, of course, is that they signed up for your email list, and you're sending them an email through your email list software, and they can unsubscribe if they want to. That's different. I'm talking about people who blind carbon copy, BCC people, right? So think about existing relationship in terms of two ways: quality and frequency. Quality is you improve the quality of your existing relationships by being more useful or interesting to them. And you can do that on Facebook, posting useful or interesting things for your audience, or you can reach out to one particular person and be useful or interesting to them. Find out what they need at this time and try to help them out. Frequency is the other way to grow your network or to improve your network. And frequency is basically How often does your network see you? And when I say your network, I mean either your audience on social media or a particular person in your network. How often do they hear from you? Okay. Obviously, the more often you keep in touch, now, not every day, and if you keep in touch extremely often, you start to fade into the background. They don't even notice you anymore. But if you keep in touch, I would say once a month. I mean, to your email list. Okay, if you have an email list or an audience, please keep in touch with your audience at least once a month. That's a good rhythm. Now, if you have really interesting and useful things to share, you might want to keep in touch with them every 2 weeks. I really think that there are some partners of previous partners of mine and some business friends of mine who email their list every few days or even every day, like 2, 3, 4 times a week, and that becomes annoying. That's too frequent. So I would say, again, once a month at least. If you have something really useful and interesting, once every 2 weeks is good. Okay? All right, let's go on to the third way of adding value, which is awesome free. Awesome free is 2 things: your free content and your free service. Okay, and free content is basically how engaging is your free content. What do I mean by content? I will include well, actually, in this mind map, there's a link to a. If you go to this mind map that we're talking about today, and you click on Awesome Free, and you click on Free Content, you will see a link to another mind map called How to Make Your Content More Engaging, how to make your content more useful, how to make your content more digestible, and how to make your content more attractive. What is free content? Free content is postings on social media. It's useful articles you send to your email list. Is recording useful podcasts. Is recording good videos. Content is writing articles, writing blog posts. All of that is content. Giving talks, sharing inspirational quotes on Facebook. That's all content. Okay. So how awesome is your free content? So that's one way of thinking about it. The second way of thinking about free content is how consistent is it? The more consistent your free content is, whether it's consistently every month or whether it's consistently every 2 weeks or on Facebook. Now, when I said every month or every 2 weeks, I really mean email list. I mean sending an email to your legitimate, they have subscribed email list. Okay? On Facebook or on social media, it's perfectly okay to post on Facebook every day. But if you post on Facebook every day, it's kind of frequent. Some people post 3, 4 times a day. Like, I am now, meeting with my friend, hanging out, doing this, and I'm now having lunch and eating this, and that's, I don't know. That's up to you, okay? But it's just up to how you're enjoying it and what kind of connections you're building as a result of it. It's up to you. I don't personally like to do that. I personally like to use Facebook and social media as a way to leave a legacy of useful or interesting content, and occasionally get help, like ask questions that I'm interested in to get some answers. Okay. So on Facebook or social media, I think frequency, consistency would be at least once a week is a good idea. If you have something real interesting or useful, once every couple days. If you have something really interesting and useful, like every day, fine. Okay. All right. Another way to make content, your free content more awesome, is if you are up to news. If you are up to date with the cool latest ideas or tools in your industry, and you share them with your audience, and your audience starts to know you as someone who shares either occasionally or frequently cool latest stuff. Now, there's a danger here. I actually think about all these different ways of adding value as different ways of competing in the market, different ways of being more rare and more valuable to the world. Okay, so again, these are different ways for you to spend your energy and focus and time to become more awesome in your business. These are 4 ways to become more awesome in your business, to become more indispensable to the world. Not all 4 ways. You probably won't have time to focus on all 4 ways all the time. So invest your time wisely, and you don't have to focus on some of these things. So for example, I don't really focus on keeping up with the latest and greatest, in my field. Now, I know that sounds strange, but here's what I mean. Some of my friends and colleagues, they are reading blogs like all the time. They read blogs first thing in the morning. They read blogs at noon. They read blogs at night. They read blogs on the weekend. They just invest so much time to filter through, reading hundreds of articles, and then they might find something really awesome, and then they'll share it with their audience. So their audience starts to know them. So what their focus and time is on the awesome free, and specifically on the newsworthiness of something. So that's their investment of time. My investment of time, where I focus on becoming better in my competitive advantage, is focusing on making my service better and focusing on my existing relationships. And I'm starting to, I do some awesome free stuff, as you know, but certainly I don't focus on the news stuff. Here's my perspective on news. If it's truly important, so many things that are news, they fade away within even weeks, especially in my field of marketing and social media. Oh, cool new social media tool. Within 6 months, that company's gone, right? So the way I have come to work with news in my field is if I hear about it from multiple people that I respect, then I think it's newsworthy. Then I will consider sharing it with my audience. If I only hear it from one person or whatever, yeah, it might fade away, within months. Okay, the other way of awesome free, so awesome free is free content and then free service. Okay, free service is basically giving your time for free in whatever way you want to the world, and especially to your market. And there's two ways of doing it. There's quality and there's quantity, right? So quality is basically when you give your time. So when you may create a Facebook group where you answer questions about your field, where people have problems about whatever it is you help people with, and then whenever you are there, you schedule your time so that you don't spend all day, all night there, right? But you just schedule maybe 1 hour a week or something. You're there helping people out, or maybe you help people out on other Facebook groups, okay? But when you're there, you give quality answers. You really are thoughtful about the answers you give. Okay, so that's free. A free service could also be free one-on-one exploratory calls. A lot of coaches, for example, do that. They offer free one-on-one calls on their website, and so quality is one. And of course, when you do quality, here's the great thing about quality free service is that when you are thoughtful about your help, even for free, that thoughtfulness spills into serving your paying clients even better as well. Okay, so there's a great benefit to that. The other way of improving your free service is the quantity. So some people, you notice, they show up a lot on Facebook groups, and their free service is very frequent. Their answers, maybe so-so, but they're very frequently there. Okay. Now, here's the problem with the quantity of free service. Now, I've noticed for myself over time, if I provide a lot of free service, people devalue my paid service. So this is very normal. So if you provide a lot of free time to people, one-on-one especially, they don't think your paid service is worth very much. Okay, so just be aware of that. So I think it's okay if you, like, I have a client who gives one free one-on-one session per week on her website. So you can get in line. She is now booked, I think, 6 months out. So, because she only gives one free one-on-one session a week on her website, from her website. So, okay, so that's not too much, right? But let's keep going. Branding is the fourth way. So again, well, I'll summarize everything at the end. Branding is the fourth way to add value, to increase your competitive advantage. And what is branding? Have you ever wondered that? People say branding this, branding that. A brand. Branding is the process of shaping how your audience feels about your business and what they remember. So that's really how I define branding. Branding is shaping how your audience feels about your business and what they remember about your business. So examples of branding. When you are changing the visual look of your website, what graphics are there? That's branding. Okay, if you do it in a conscious way. If you change the font you use on your website or your email newsletter in a thoughtful way, that's branding. You're changing how they feel about you and your business. Okay, the look of what your logo. If you have I don't even have a logo. You know what's interesting? Actually, I should say all of us have a logo. You have a logo if you are on social media and you have a profile picture. Your profile picture by default is your social media logo. Now, what I'm not saying is to upload a corporate logo onto your profile picture on Facebook. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that all of us on social media, part of our brand is our profile picture. So how our profile picture looks, the background, or just the whole feel of it is part of our brand. If you have a podcast, okay, like I don't really focus on branding this podcast because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, I utilize this podcast as a way for me to explore ideas, as a way for me to share what I'm exploring right now. Okay, so I don't really care about how people feel about this podcast. So I don't have intro music, I don't have outro music, I don't have cool sounds that come up every now and then. So I don't worry about that part of my business. So and as I said in the previous podcast, I think it's really helpful to understand that the sales process is different from the content exploration process. Anyway, so the voice of your writing, if you love to write and how you write, the voice that comes through is part of your brand. The attitude you display in your client service. When you email clients and respond to them, what is your attitude? That's what comes through is part of your brand. It's how they remember you, okay? How they feel about you. Part of your brand is also when someone asks your client or when someone asks your audience member, well, I'll say this. When someone asks one of you, who is George Cao? The first couple of words that come out of your mouth, that's my brand in your mind. Does that make sense? So think about that. What the first couple words that come out of an audience member's mouth about who you are, that's what your brand is. So how are you continually communicating, I am a what? And I'll tell you this, branding has been my weak spot. I have spent years focusing on improving my services and improving my relationships that I've kind of neglected the branding part of my business, and now I'm starting to get better at it. I'm starting to learn more about it and get better at it. So you'll join me on my journey as I learn more about branding. Okay, now branding, a couple things about it. There's quality and there's quantity. Quality is the taste, okay? The quality of your brand is something you will learn over time. And I'm going to read you a quote from Ira Glass, who is the guy who does This American Life, which is one of the top 5 podcasts of all time. And he says this, nobody tells this to people who are beginners. I wish someone told me. All of us who do creative work, or I would say all of us who do branding of our business, we get into it because we have good taste, or you'll develop it over time. But there is a gap. First, for the first couple of years, you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good, it has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is still great. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. Most people I know who do interesting creative work went through years of this. We know our work doesn't have this special thing that we want it to have. We all go through this. And if you are just starting out or you are still in this phase, you've got to know it's normal. And the most important thing you can do is to do a lot of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week you finish one story. He's talking to other radio broadcasters, other podcasters. It is only by going through a volume of work that you will close that gap, and your work will be as good as your ambitions. And I took longer to figure out how to do this than anyone I've ever met. It's gonna take a while. It's normal to take a while. You've just got to fight your way through. Okay, so same thing with your taste in terms of your branding. I always feel like, you know, my website's not quite there. There's something quite off about it. It's because I guess maybe I have pretty good taste about what good brand is, and I'm still working my way up there. And the way you develop good taste, here's how you develop it. Look at more websites. The more websites of your niche mates that you look at, the more you start to get a feel of, oh, this is really what looks good. Okay, this is really what feels good. This is really what's memorable. Okay, so keep changing your website as often as you need to. Remember, Ira Glass says the volume of work is what gets you to your actual work being as good as your taste. But first, developing your taste means looking at a lot of good work that's being done out there. Okay. I've already said that branding is about being memorable, and being memorable, there's a couple things I'll give you here. One is having a remarkable story. I don't have that remarkable. Well, I kind of do. I think all of us have a remarkable story. So find the remarkable part of your story. One story that I find is really remarkable is Julia Butterfly Hill. Now, this is extreme. You don't have to do this, but she, because she's an environmentalist, right? She wanted to prevent the cutting down of redwood forests, and to make her case, she went and lived in a very, very tall redwood tree for 2 years. For 2 years, or close to that anyway. She lived the whole time in that tree. She had all of her equipment, all of her living stuff up there, and of course she had some people helping her to make deliveries or whatever like that. But that's a remarkable story, and that's unforgettable. Now, you and I both have some part of our life that's unforgettable. So start to brainstorm, ask your family and friends about, what part of my life is unforgettable that I could tell to help people remember me. What do you stand for? Now, this is where I like to try to be memorable, is what do I stand for? And I'm still trying to get clear about that. But what do you stand for? For me, I stand for full honesty in marketing. I stand for full love in business, not the strings attached type of love, but full love in business, right? Okay, placebo. Okay, now this is really interesting, and I don't want to get into it. I've already run over time, the planned time for this podcast, but placebo is a very powerful thing that I'm starting to learn about in branding, and I will include a link in the episode notes to an ebook by Seth Godin about how to ethically use the placebo effect in your marketing. The placebo effect is this. This is amazing, right? They have shown in studies that when you slap an expensive-looking label on a bottle of wine, okay, get this, expensive label on a bottle of wine, and the same exact wine in a label that looks cheap, even wine connoisseurs who drink it, they literally tell you that the wine that has the more expensive label tastes better. Now, they don't know that these are the same wine. They think that the expensive wine is actually more aged or whatever. They literally, this tastes better. And so that's the placebo effect used, of course, deceptively. But when we're able to, what the placebo effect is basically, how can you get more skillful at making your audience believe in the worthwhileness of what you do, so that they use your services, first of all, but they will use it in such a way that their mind and body will actually heal themselves more than if you're just very dry and, double-blind studies say that my services work. So this placebo thing is much more powerful than most people have realized, and if we use it ethically, if we use it in a way to not oversell what we do, but to sell it in a way that where we help the people believe in themselves, that's where true transformation can happen. Anyway, I'll include a link there. Branding also has quantity. So the quantity of branding is basically, and again, these are all different things you can focus on. Don't focus all at once. Just one at a time, or just focus on one thing for a while. Okay. So the quantity of branding is every touch point of your client with your business. When your email newsletter to them, that's a touch point. When they see you on social media, that's another touch point. When they ask you something over email and your response to them is another touch point. When you are on a call with your client, that's also a touch point. All these different touch points, if you are focused on this area of quantity branding, you can focus on each touch point being something where you are consciously shaping that touch point to be what you want the client to feel and remember you by. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's a lot there. Just take it step by step, and you'll get there. Okay, finally, let's talk about price. The unfortunate thing about price is that too many businesses compete on price. When you compete on price, I'm a lower price than someone else, you are always racing to the bottom because someone else will always then try to lower their price, and then you feel like you have to lower your price to compete with them. Competing on price, bad idea. Now, I'm not saying don't share what other, for example, I don't really compete on price. I mean, my coaching program at this time is, most of you cannot afford it. It's $1,500 for a 3-month coaching program. Now, that might sound like a lot to some of you, but to some of you who know what coaching programs, one-to-one coaching programs cost with people who are really good, who are really experienced, that's nothing. I was talking with another friend who told me that, George, there are business coaches that charge $10,000 for 1 day with them, and you're only charging $1,500 for 3 months of one-to-one with you with unlimited email support. Are you crazy? So I'm not saying don't mention higher prices, but don't keep lowering your price because you think you need to. So don't compete on that level. When you do a good job of adding value, doing these 4 things, or one of these 4 things I've shared with you, making your services better, improving your existing relationships and growing your relationships, making your awesome free thing, or making your free things more awesome, and then making your branding better. Again, don't have to do all of them, but just focus on one at a time. If you do a good job of adding value, you can keep increasing your prices. And when I say keep increasing your prices, I don't mean, oh, greedy, you can charge more and more, make more money, 7-figure. No, I'm talking about if you increase your prices, then you are able to limit the commercialization of your time. So my goal is in the next few years, I'm going to increase the price of my coaching program to $3,000 for 3 months, through 3 months, and that's still very reasonable compared to some of my peers, right? $3,000 would then allow me to limit the commercialization of my time, so that I have more time to give my content legacy, to focus on my awesome free stuff, so I can serve people, more and more people, for free. Okay. One of the things not to do also in price is some people, and again, there are some business friends that I have that do this, they make a huge price. They'll basically say, my coaching is $10,000 for 1 day, and because they charge so much, people think, oh, it must be really great, it must be really valuable. So they kind of use the placebo effect in an extreme way, in a way that I don't feel is ethical, because it's usually overselling it, because usually no matter how much they try to make perceived value, $10,000 for 1 day, that same experience, that amazing experience, can probably be had for $500 for 1 day. So it's a little bit, and the problem here is that's fine until the market finds out that, oh my God, there's a $500 version of this $10,000 thing that's as good, if not better. And when the market finds out, that person's trust is eroded in the market, and so that's the kind of karma comes back. Well, karma will always come back, whether it's in this life or in another life. And if it's in another life, it's multiplied. So let's try to build good karma in this life, and that will be multiplied also in another life, perhaps also in this life. So I think that's enough for today, don't you think? I hope you benefited from this. I truly hope you have, and I always love hearing from you. So if you have benefited from this, let me know, and it just really gratifies, really fulfills my heart when I hear from you that you have received benefit from this. And you can contact me by going to our website, www.ourhighestwork.com. If you want to comment on this episode specifically and let me know what you learned and what you're going to implement, go to ourhighestwork.com/56. So until our next episode, remember that you are deeply loved today. You are loved by a divine presence that is always with you, that is protecting you more than you realize, that is guiding you more than you realize. So because of that, until our next episode, keep doing your highest work. Be well.